Sexy isn't just about abs, charm, or perfect smiles anymore. In 2025, desire has evolved. It's deeper, quieter, and infinitely more dangerous. The new icons of attraction aren't afraid to blur lines, challenge rules, and redefine what it means to be irresistible. From Jacob Elordi, the dangerous gentleman who turned queer gaze into mainstream fantasy, to Jeremy Allen White, whose quiet intensity made vulnerability magnetic, every name on this list proves that sexy is no longer loud. It's layered. Evan Mock brings rebellion to the runway. Austin Butler revives old Hollywood seduction with modern ease, and Ross Lynch transforms innocence into soft punk temptation. These men didn't follow the rules of attraction, they rewrote them. Because in 2025, being sexy isn't about perfection. It's about truth, confidence, and the courage to be seen exactly as you are. Jacob Elordi is a fantasy built in silence. He doesn't need to talk much. His presence does it for him. The gaze, the posture, the deliberate calm, everything about him feels crafted, yet natural, like he's constantly aware of being watched, but never performing for it. In 2025, no one embodies the intersection between straight masculinity and queer desire more powerfully than Jacob Elordi. From Euphoria to Saltburn, Jacob has mastered a rare art, being both the subject and the object of desire. His characters are beautiful, cruel, vulnerable, and impossible to look away from. When he's on screen, you're not sure whether you want to be him, love him, or destroy him. And that tension is exactly what makes him so intoxicating. What's fascinating is that Jacob doesn't run from the queer gaze. He invites it. In Saltburn, his performance became cultural currency. The wet graveyard scene alone turned him into a generational symbol of erotic chaos. It wasn't just about nudity or shock value. It was about power, the way he held it, the way he surrendered to it, the way he made discomfort feel cinematic. There's something dangerous about Jacob's allure, the kind that doesn't shout but lingers. He carries that vintage, old Hollywood leading man energy, mixed with modern ambiguity. He's tall, elegant, and distant, like a young Paul Newman reborn in the age of TikTok thirst edits. Yet beneath that polish lies a raw, unpredictable edge. It's the duality, soft and sinister, confident and broken, that keeps everyone hooked. When asked about sexuality, Jacob sidesteps the question gracefully. He doesn't deny, doesn't confirm, doesn't label. And that's the brilliance of it. He lets the audience project. The queer gaze thrives on tension, on longing, on the unknowable. Jacob understands that better than anyone. He gives just enough to make you wonder, never enough to make you sure. In interviews, he's self-aware, sometimes almost poetic. "I think we're fascinated by what we can't define," he said once, smiling faintly. And maybe that's why he's become the face of 21st century desire, because he doesn't need to explain it. He just is. Off-screen, his charm carries the same contradictions. One day, he's photographed reading The Bell Jar on a Paris balcony. The next, he's walking red carpets in custom Bottega Veneta, dripping with understated power. His fashion sense, sharp suits, open collars, minimal jewelry, feels effortlessly sexy. He doesn't follow trends, he sets moods. In 2025, Jacob Elordi isn't just Hollywood's leading man, he's a cultural mirror. He reflects what people crave, but can't articulate. Mystery, dominance softened by vulnerability, beauty that feels dangerous. He didn't choose to become the fantasy, he simply refused to break the illusion. Because in an era where everyone's trying to prove they're desirable, Jacob Elordi remains the rare kind of man who doesn't have to try at all. He just looks up, and the world falls silent. Jeremy Allen White is what happens when desire learns restraint. He doesn't seduce with words. He does it with stillness, with the way he moves, cooks, smokes, breathes. Watching him feels like reading a love letter written in lowercase, quiet, messy, and far too real. In The Bear, Jeremy turned a kitchen into a cathedral of intimacy. Every movement, the grip of a knife, the flick of his wrist, the heavy exhale between chaos, became hypnotic. It wasn't just acting. It was vulnerability in motion. He embodied the kind of masculinity that doesn't dominate. It holds. And suddenly the world fell in love. He didn't need shirtless scenes or glossy perfection. His sex appeal came from precision, the small, unspoken moments where exhaustion met passion. Yes, Chef became an anthem not just for ambition, but for attraction. The queer community, in particular, claimed him almost immediately. Not because he played a gay character, but because he radiated something far more honest: intimacy without ego. Jeremy's magnetism isn't about rebellion, it's about refusal. The refusal to perform, to posture, to please. His energy says, if you want me, you'll have to meet me where I am. That quiet defiance, that groundedness, has made him one of the most desired men in Hollywood without ever chasing the spotlight. There's something inherently queer about that energy, about being soft in a world that demands armor. It's why he resonates beyond gender, beyond sexuality. His performances speak to anyone who's ever longed for connection more than conquest. Off-screen, Jeremy's allure only deepens. His tousled curls, faded denim, and casual smirk feel effortless, the kind of beauty you only notice when you stop trying. The paparazzi love him in motion, cigarette in hand, vintage t-shirt clinging just enough to suggest not show. He looks like a man who doesn't know how beautiful he is, which only makes him more so. In 2024, his Calvin Klein campaign broke the internet, not just for the body, but for the honesty of it. There was no artifice, no performative masculinity, just raw, unfiltered confidence. It was both erotic and tender, like catching someone mid-thought and realizing you've already fallen for them. Jeremy represents a shift in what sexy means now. It's no longer the loudest man in the room, but the one who listens. Not the one who conquers, but the one who cares. He's the kind of man who'd rather cook you dinner than take you to a club, and somehow that's infinitely hotter. In 2025, Jeremy Allen White isn't chasing fame or playing by Hollywood's rules. He's too busy redefining what desire looks like, not as fantasy, but as reality. Because the new sexy isn't perfect. It's flawed, tired, and beautifully alive. And Jeremy Allen White doesn't play that kind of man. He is that kind of man. Evan Mock doesn't walk into a room. He glides like a secret you're not supposed to know yet. Pink hair, silver eyes, that quiet smile that says he's in on something the rest of the world hasn't figured out. He's not just a model or an actor. He's an energy, fluid, defiant, unapologetic. Born in Hawaii, Evan grew up surfing waves before he started breaking fashion rules. His androgynous beauty, sharp cheekbones, sun-kissed skin, and a gaze that feels both soft and lethal made him the poster boy for a new kind of masculinity, one that doesn't ask for permission. When Gossip Girl rebooted in 2021, Evan became the show's living embodiment of rebellion. He wasn't just the edgy skater, he was the vibe. Neon hair, vintage chains, oversized blazers with nothing underneath. Every frame screamed freedom. He made queerness look like luxury, effortless, playful, untouchable. But what makes Evan truly magnetic is that he doesn't perform queerness. He lives it, in gestures, in fashion, in silence. Whether he's front row at Louis Vuitton or skating down a Brooklyn street, he carries that same calm confidence. I am what you think I am. and also something you'll never define. His style speaks its own language. One part surfer, one part runway, one part fever dream. Sheer shirts, pearl necklaces, painted nails. He doesn't bend gender norms. He dissolves them. In a culture obsessed with labels, Evan is the refusal itself, the embodiment of aesthetic freedom. Photographers love him because he's unpredictable. He'll give you a smirk that feels like danger, then break it with a laugh so pure it feels like redemption. That tension between the rebel and the romantic is what makes him impossible to ignore. Off the runway, Evan is disarmingly grounded. In interviews, he talks more about skating, friends, and family than fame. "I just wear what makes me feel good," he once said. Simple, but in that simplicity lies power, because feeling good, authentically good, is what sexy really looks like in 2025. Brands know it too. He's worked with Prada, Mugler, Valentino, and Calvin Klein, but what they're really buying isn't just his face, it's his philosophy. The idea that confidence isn't about how much you show, but how much you own. In a world where sexy is often overproduced, Evan Mock is proof that less can be intoxicating. The bare chest under a silk jacket, the quiet stare under pink hair, the way he holds still just long enough for you to realize you're the one blushing. Evan doesn't redefine sexy by force. He does it by being unbothered. Because real allure isn't about chasing attention. It's about moving through the world knowing you already have it. Austin Butler is proof that elegance never goes out of style. It just learns how to whisper. In an era of noise and neon, he arrived like a slow burn. Golden hair, velvet voice, a stare that holds just long enough to make you forget what you were saying. He's not the kind of sexy that demands attention. He's the kind that earns silence. After Elvis, everything changed. Hollywood rediscovered something it had forgotten. That charisma isn't just energy, it's control. Austin's performance wasn't imitation, it was possession. He didn't just play Elvis. He became the fever dream of what fame, love, and power could do to a man. That level of transformation, raw, tender, and unguarded, turned him from actor to archetype. Since then, Austin has embraced a kind of retro sensuality that feels untouched by time. He wears suits that look stolen from old movie wardrobes. He speaks with a calm that feels rehearsed, but real. He makes masculinity look effortless, like it's something you grow into, not perform. What makes him fascinating to queer audiences is the emotional ambiguity he carries. There's always a trace of softness behind the strength, a lingering vulnerability behind the smirk. He embodies that timeless fantasy, the golden boy who knows exactly how much danger hides behind his kindness. His energy belongs to a different generation, one where men were allowed to be mysterious, where desire was about suggestion, not exposure. He reminds people of what seduction used to be, an art form. In 2025, Austin Butler is more than just a leading man. He's a revival of something sacred, a return to intimacy, presence, and stillness. When he walks the red carpet, he doesn't need bright colors or controversy. A black suit, a single ring, a faint smile, and he's already the headline. There's something undeniably queer-coded about his composure. He flirts with tradition without mocking it, blurring that line between the gentleman and the muse. It's the kind of sensuality that doesn't fit neatly into definitions, which is exactly why it resonates so deeply. In interviews, Austin talks about empathy, not ego, about listening more than speaking, about finding the humanity behind the glamour. "You don't have to shout to be heard," he once said, and somehow that became his brand. His relationship with fame feels intimate, not exploitative. He doesn't chase virality. He curates mystique, and that, in today's world, is revolutionary. Austin Butler redefines sexy by slowing it down. He doesn't need chaos to be captivating. Just eye contact, stillness, and that voice, soft and low, like a secret meant for one person at a time. Because real desire isn't about attention. It's about gravity, the pull that keeps you watching even after he's gone. And when the lights fade, the applause stops, and the world goes quiet, Austin Butler still glows, not from fame, from fire. Ross Lynch was never supposed to be this sexy, and that's exactly why he is. He started as the boy next door, the Disney sweetheart, the kid with the guitar and the easy smile. But somewhere along the way, that innocence cracked open, and what emerged was something far more dangerous: confidence. In 2025, Ross isn't just another pop culture crush. He's a symbol of transformation, of what happens when you stop hiding the parts of yourself that scare people. His journey from Austin and Ally to the Driver era wasn't a rebrand. It was a rebirth. On stage, Ross moves like he's half in control, half possessed by rhythm. Sweat, light, and emotion collide, and suddenly, the boy you once thought was cute feels magnetic. His performances blur the line between playful and primal. He doesn't act sexy. He just is. And that makes every glance, every lyric feel electric. There's a quiet rebellion in his energy, something that says, I don't need to fit your mold to be desirable. That's why queer audiences connect so strongly with him. He embodies freedom, the kind that doesn't scream but radiates. When he dances shirtless on stage, it's not for attention, it's liberation, an invitation to celebrate your own body, your own confidence, without apology. Fashion has become his language of defiance. Sheer tops, painted nails, low-rise pants. Every look feels like a wink at gender norms, a reminder that androgyny can be beautiful without explanation. In photo shoots, Ross channels old-school rock star glamour. Soft lighting, loose hair, a touch of danger. He's the kind of man who can smile sweetly while making you question everything you thought you knew about desire. Offstage, his magnetism doesn't fade. Fans adore how open he is about vulnerability, about love, mistakes, growth. He's approachable but never ordinary, charming but never predictable. That's what makes his version of sexy so powerful. It's rooted in authenticity. In interviews, Ross talks about emotional connection as the core of his art. I think people feel what's real, he once said. And that's exactly why he's become a queer icon, because he's real. His beauty isn't intimidating, it's human. You look at him and feel seen, not excluded. In a world where fame often feels manufactured, Ross Lynch stands out by simply being alive. Messy, romantic, open, curious. He's not trying to shock anyone, yet he keeps redefining what attraction looks like. Ross's evolution mirrors a larger truth about desire in 2025. The new sexy isn't about control. It's about surrender. It's about letting your true self out, even if it surprises people, especially if it does. He's proof that sometimes the sweetest faces hide the wildest souls, and that the boy next door can grow up and set the whole world on fire. Maybe sexy was never about abs or attitude. Maybe it was always about presence, that quiet confidence that says, I know who I am and I'm not afraid to be seen. From Jacob's dangerous charm to Jeremy's soft intensity, from Evan's pink-haired rebellion to Austin's golden elegance and Ross's liberated warmth, each of them reminds us that true desire isn't loud, it's honest. They didn't just make people look. They made people feel. And that's the rarest kind of power. So, as we close this chapter of beauty, mystery, and evolution, remember, the most attractive thing you can ever be is yourself. If you felt inspired by this episode, don't forget to hit subscribe, drop a heart in the comments, and tell us who redefined sexy for you this year.